All right, Andrew, we chose two lifts right here to exemplify a few things for you. First and foremost, the starting position and torso path, so to speak. As you go throughout this lift, what you're going to find is that this heavy degree or this really aggressive forward torso position is going to really impact the bar path, which is going to impact how you land, your landing position. Also, it's going to impact kind of what you're using when you go through the lift. So you might not get as much hip extension if you're having to extend into the bar instead of assisted. And I know that we talked about having that double knee bend, and this is going to kind of exemplify why we want to have that nice vertical torso. So here at the starting position, you can see on the top image comparatively to the bottom image, you have a lot more wind up, so to speak, in your shoulder. I really like this top position right here, where you've bent or wrapped the bar around your body like we talked about and gotten everything organized. Your chin is in a much better position here at the start. This is pretty much picture perfect right here at the bottom of your lift. Now at the bottom image, what you can see is the chin's up a little bit. We have a little bit of rounding in the lower back. And also the shoulders have a little bit too much slack. So as you come up, what's going to likely happen is that head's going to pop up because those tissues are slacking out. So we'll track this lift through the first couple of phases. And now notice how in both these images right here, this first motion, we're kind of catching slack instead of taking up the slack and then moving first. And because of that, watch what happens. The torso starts moving instead of the weight. And you can see that that torso starts going forward aggressively. The chin starts going up. Now, if you compare the top image to the bottom image, look how much better of a position your shoulders and your neck are in. Still a little bit up, but realistically, when you're holding on to weight right here, I'll take that first position on the top image right here all day. The bottom one, you can see that head's going to start shooting up because those shoulders have a lot of slack in them, and so it finds basically stability by hanging out on the tissue, so to speak. Now notice how both these torso angles are just a little bit too far forward, and as we start going up, this is starting to resemble a little bit too much of a deadlift. What we'd like to see is for you to remain a little bit more vertical right here in the torso, so to speak. Now, with that being said, you're really a hip-dominant athlete, which is fantastic, like we talked about, for pretty much everything other than Olympic lifting. So you finding your hips right here isn't necessarily a bad thing. But what you're going to find is that it's really hard to have a really good vertical bar path as you extend past the knees. Now look at your bottom position right here in the bottom image. That's a little bit more like a deadlift again, really heavy into the hips, and that head is really looking up right here to kind of help assist your shoulders to the movement. Your top image is not nearly as bad. You don't have quite as bad of a forward torso. As we continue through this lift right here, you're going to find that, see how these knees extend. As I get beyond the knees right here, if I don't double knee bend and get back underneath the bar, which happens a little bit right here on the top image, I'm going to kind of be keeping my hip extension short because I'm going to be banging into the bar with my hips instead of brushing through and assisting this motion as I go throughout the lift. Now, we lift off, and notice how it kind of impacts your ending position right here. Not quite as much extension. Now, I think the bottom lift is a snatch, so you have a little bit more extension on that. Notice the landing position here. That's a pretty good front squat. I like that top position. This bottom position, however, we have a little bit too much hyperextension of the lower back right here. And we're kind of starting to decelerate that weight with the arms instead of sinking down into our hips and having more of that vertical torso. So see how those arms really have to kind of internally rotate to maintain this position. What we'd like to see is those shoulders in a more organized position and a little bit more of a vertical torso, and that should clean those both up.